What's going on, guys? B. Scott here, on today's show. We got your quarterback sit, start, stream heading in to week number 18. It's the last week of the NFL season. If you're watching this video, you obviously are still on your journey to that fantasy football championship. I'm going to give you the quarterbacks I like this week to start, a few to sit, and a couple of stream options just for this week. So keep it locked and loaded right here at the first four downs. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. As I mentioned in the preview, we're going through the quarterback sit starts heading into week number 18. This week's a little different than any other week because there's going to be quarterbacks that are sitting and guys that may start the game but play halfway through, and you just got to be wary of who's going to be out there playing the full games. And in meaningful games, those players are definitely going to have a boost. So before we get to today's content, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, and then comment. If there's a quarterback you want to hear more about or pick one over the other, whatever situation you're in, drop it in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you the best of my ability, my advice for week number 18. And then obviously look for our offseason videos. We're going to have all the ranks. We'll have all the good stuff. We're going to be previewing every single team all through the offseason. I'm going to be having at least 2 shows a week through the offseason leading back up into the 2022 NFL season. So let's dive right into it. Let's start at the top of the quarterback list. First off, Josh Allen is facing the New York Jets. They kind of need to win this football game, and I think Josh Allen's going to handle him no problem here. You're starting Josh Allen. He's been great, especially over the last month and a half. Tom Brady faces the Carolina Panthers. You know, they need to win the football game, but not necessarily. I think they can handle him no problem. Tom Brady, you're probably going to have to start him if you got him on your roster, but, you know, with the lack of weapons, no Antonio Brown, obviously. Mike Evans might be out there. Gronk will be out there. Carolina's defense has been pretty decent on the season as a whole, but if you have Tom Brady, you probably got to be starting him. He's honestly on the MVP chase as well, so I think he's going to go out there and give it his all. Justin Herbert at the Las Vegas Raiders, you got to be starting him. 2+ touchdowns in 8 of his last 10 games, 222 yards, 3 touchdowns versus the Las Vegas Raiders here in week 4. So you got to be starting Justin Herbert. A very, very meaningful game, winning in for the playoff picture against the Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders. So Matt Stafford facing the San Francisco 49ers. 2+ touchdowns, 5 of his last 6 games. Struggled in San Francisco last time out. 243 passing yards, 1 touchdown, just 2 interceptions. He's had 6 interceptions in his last 3 games. For some reason, when he's backed up in his own end zone, he likes to throw interceptions, which is terrible. But he's been getting it done, especially for fantasy. I want to say he's a top 5 quarterback. There's no way you're sitting him. San Francisco secondary, albeit has played good in spots. They are on the road. They played worse on the road, especially. So Matthew Stafford, I'd be firing him here. Kyler Murray facing the Seattle Seahawks. You got to be firing him. Kyler Murray's looking like he's getting back into that rapport. He played a great game last week, and he's moving around even more, utilizing his legs. He made huge runs when he needed it against the Dallas Cowboys last week. You got to be starting Kyler Murray, top 5 option this week. Jalen Hurts faces the Dallas Cowboys. Running backs and tight ends all out of this game, or at least on the COVID list. We'll have to wait and see because Dallas got it on the list. You got Jordan Howard. You got Boston Scott, so who knows what's going to happen here. Dallas doesn't have much to play for in this game, but it is on Saturday, so they're going to be going out there and giving it a go. Jalen Hurts has been great all year, and he's been very consistent. He hasn't had the big blow-up games as of late, but he's still been a very consistent option. I would be starting Jalen Hurts. I have Joe Burrow here. News came out today. He's not going to be playing in the game, or more than likely not expected to play. I'm going to give him some rest. I get it, so honestly downgrade all those position players. Joe Mixon also on the COVID list, and the wide receivers, just downgrade them all. I mean, could you sit them? They may not play the full game if they play at all, so just wait and watch and see what happens to the actives, inactives, and the news leading up to the week. The Bengals, you might be looking elsewhere this week. Dak Prescott at the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I mentioned, it's a Saturday game. They're pretty much locked in the spot where they are. They can move up a spot, but there's a very few scenarios in which they can. So maybe Dak Prescott goes out. I think they're going to start the game no matter what. They're going to be playing the starters for some part of this game, but I could see a scenario in which halfway through the game, the starters are benched. So obviously you got to be wary of that. That's kind of the reason a lot of people don't play fantasy football in week 18. But if you're playing, you got to be starting your studs. Dak Prescott, I'd be starting him. Back-to-back games with 3+ touchdowns, so start Dak Prescott. Aaron Rodgers faces the Detroit Lions now. 6 straight games with 2+ touchdowns. He's averaged 299 yards a game passing in his last 6 games. Aaron Rodgers has been on fire as of late. He's on the MVP chase, and that's what I wrote down because I think there's lots of news whether he's going to play or not. I think if he goes out there and plays, he's doing it for the MVP. There's no other reason why he needs to be out there. They've locked up the number 1 seed, and I get it. I'm a huge proponent of actually getting your starters ready to play. They should be practicing all week, just like as if they were going to play. They should go out at least play a quarter, at least a series or 2, just to be in that same mindset every single week. We've seen a lot of teams in the past Give their guys rests, breaks, don't start them, and what happens? They come in the playoffs, and they're out of sync, out of rhythm. Even Aaron Rodgers mentioned that they got a lot of momentum on offense right now. They want to keep it going. I think Aaron Rodgers comes out, if he plays the full game, and just shoots it out as best as he can because he wants to win the MVP. I think Aaron Rodgers has, a little bit of an ego. He is one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL right now. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, honestly. He makes plays that almost nobody else can. But against the Detroit Lions, I would be starting Aaron Rodgers if he's going to be out there and playing. You just have to. I think he's going to be shooting it out, trying to get that MVP. Kirk Cousins, going to round out my top end quarterbacks. Now, he was removed from the COVID list this just today. He's going to play. And the coach already came out and said, yes, Kirk Cousins is going to be starting the game. They're going to be putting those starters out there in a meaningless game. But who knows the situation with Mike Zimmer? Is he going to be fired or let go in the offseason? Or, is he going to return? There's a lot of question marks around the Vikings. They really just haven't put it together with how strong their team has been, but they've had a lot of injuries, especially on the defensive side, so it's hard to place blame just on the coach. But they played a lot of close games all season long. Kirk Cousins faced the Chicago Bears. This is a huge game, I think, just for namesake for both these teams. Both head coaches could be swapped next year. Justin Fields looking like he's going to be giving it a go as well, so I like Kirk Cousins. He's been great, honestly, a top 10 fantasy quarterback on the season, so fire him up here against the Chicago secondary that's really struggled. So now to a few quarterback sits, guys I don't love this week. First off, Tua. He just hasn't been getting it done. I want to say he's averaged close to just barely 200 yards over his last 4 or 5 games. Had a really bad game against the Tennessee Titans, threw a couple interceptions. Now he's got the New England Patriots. Second fewest fantasy points to the quarterback position, and they've played well. So I just don't like Tua's outlook here. I would be sitting him for other options. Derek Carr faced the Los Angeles Chargers. 0 multi-touchdown games in his last 7 games for Derek Carr. Just 1 multi-touchdown game, I want to say, in his last 9 games since the bye week. So I don't like the outlook here. 1+, he's also had an interception in 4 straight games. And like I mentioned, since the bye, week number 9, 9 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Before that, 12 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions. So he played very well to start the season. After the bye weeks, it's kind of come off the rails. They've been getting it done on the defensive side and running the football effectively. I think if they're going to attack the Los Angeles Chargers, it's got to be on the ground here. So Derek Carr, I'd potentially be sitting him this week. He just hasn't been getting it done for fantasy over the last month and a half. And then Matt Ryan versus New Orleans Saints, I would sit him. Now, yes, he had 340 passing yards, like 2 or 3 touchdowns, I want to say, against these Saints earlier on in the season. But the Saints defense has really picked it up as of late. 6th fewest fantasy points to the quarterback position. The New Orleans Saints have allowed just 2 touchdowns over their last 5 games to quarterbacks. And those include Tom Brady. Those include Dak Prescott. So it's not like they're playing nobodies at the quarterback position. So I would be sitting Matt Ryan this week. He also could be without Kyle Pitts. We're waiting to see whether he's going to be able to play in week 18. But I would be sitting Matt Ryan for just some other options. So now let's get to some streams. Quarterbacks that I love this week in matchups that are really important. So first off, Carson Wentz. I mentioned him in the waiver wire. I'm going to mention him here as a start. At the Jacksonville Jaguars, 6th most fantasy points to the quarterback position. They've allowed 2+ touchdowns of quarterbacks in 3 straight games, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And these are the quarterbacks that aren't very good. I mean, a lot of rookies. Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, and Davis Mills. 2+ touchdowns to all 3 of those quarterbacks. So I think Carson Wentz bounces back here. Now, yes, early on in the season, they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had 180 yards, no touchdowns. Very effective and efficient day. I think he bounces back in this one. Last week, yeah, you saw it. He dudded out. He was on the COVID list all the way up till Sunday morning. No practice. Probably still lingering symptoms. And we've seen time and time again a lot of these players that come off the COVID list last minute, they just don't have the stamina and the energy to get through these football games. I mean, it's rough. So I like Carson Wentz to bounce back this week in a good stream option, 200 to 250 passing yards, and I think you get a couple scores this week. Taysom Hill at the Atlanta Falcons, another good stream option for me. 2nd most fantasy points to the quarterback position, the 3rd most rushing yards to quarterbacks, 4 rushing touchdowns, which is tied for 2nd most to quarterbacks. Only Chicago and Washington football team have allowed more touchdowns to quarterbacks than the Atlanta Falcons. So it's just a good spot here. 221 yards. Passing and a touchdown. Honestly, his throwing is looking like he's improving. His hand looks like it's getting better and better each week. Last week played pretty well against Carolina Panthers. 12 carries for 45 yards. He's averaged 63 yards rushing per game over his last 4 starts. So Taysom Hill, I think, is a great stream option this week to see right around that 20-point mark in a must-win game for the New Orleans Saints. So Taysom Hill, a great stream option. Davis Mills. I had him as a stream option last week, and I told you, on the road, it's been hit or miss with Davis Mills. He's really struggled on the road, but at home, he's been good. So they're at home this week at the Tennessee Titans, and I think he has a good day here. I mean, Davis Mills, over 300 passing yards 3 times this season. All of them were at home against quality opponents. Los Angeles Rams, the New England Patriots, and the Seattle Seahawks. Those aren't some schlub defenses. You know what I mean? I know Seattle struggled, but the Rams and the Patriots, they're top-end defenses, and he hung 300 on them. So I like Davis Mills at home this week. 9 touchdowns to 1 interception and five home starts this year. On the road, 4 touchdowns and 9 interceptions for Davis Mills. So at home, he's played very, very well, and he's averaged close to 300 passing yards per game, and he's been getting it done. So Davis Mills is a great stream option, and I get it. The Tennessee Titans defense has come on a little bit as of late, been playing pretty well, but I still think the secondary is a little weak. It's a divisional matchup, and I think Davis Mills could still put up some points here this week. So Davis Mills is a great stream option. And my last stream, Justin Fields. Coach came out and said he's going to play this week. He's facing the Minnesota Vikings. The secondary is bad. 5th most fantasy points to the quarterback position, the 5th most passing yards, and the 8th most rushing yards to quarterbacks. So Justin Fields, 285 passing yards and 1 touchdown. Also had 35 yards on the ground against Minnesota just a few weeks ago before his injury. He's missed the last couple games. 51 rushing yards per game over his last 7 starts. So he's averaging 50 rushing yards. That's 5 points right there. You throw in a touchdown or 2 and 250 passing yards. Justin Fields could have 20-plus fantasy points this week, and I think he does. This is the last game of the season. They want to go out with a bang, to be honest. These teams not playing for anything but bragging rights at this point. So Justin Fields is a good stream option this week. So that's it. That's my quarterback sit-start stream heading in to week number 18. Like I mentioned, maybe not a lot of you are watching this because you don't have playoffs in week 18, but got people that are having it, they need it. So I'm always here for you. Week 18, get your lineup set. Quarterbacks, if you have any questions, drop it in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my advice and my opinion. And while you're there, don't forget to like the video. Subscribe, share, thumb, and bell for all your fantasy football information all season long. We got the off season. We'll do some playoff stuff. Lots of fun stuff right here at the First 4 Downs. So it's been B. Scott, and I'm out.